hello everyone. My name is Shannon O'Hagan and I represent the University of Kansas. I work in the Office of International Recruitment and Undergraduate Admissions, and I'm joined here by a wonderful current student, Jose, who's going to share his experiences as well. So during this webinar, what we're going to do is we're going to provide you with an overview of the university, talk about several different aspects of the University of Kansas, and why we think it's a special place to be. You're welcome to add in your questions via the chat box at any time throughout the presentation, and we will answer those at the very end. Please keep your questions as general as possible so that they apply to everyone else who is participating. If you have any very specific questions about individual academic programs or your own unique circumstances, you're welcome to visit our chat after this. It's part of the College Week Live chat, so we have our virtual booth that you can visit. Or you can email us at issrecruit@ku.edu, and we will put that contact email address up at the end of the presentation. Okay, that covers the basics, so I guess we can go ahead and get started. Jose, if you want to start off just kind of introducing yourself and talking about what you're studying, where you're from.
Sure. Hello everybody, my name is Jose Aldana. Currently I'm a sophomore from Bolivia, and I'm studying it's actually kind of long, I'm studying marketing and management and leadership with concentrations in international business and entrepreneurship, and also a minor in psychology.
Awesome, great. We're going to start off I'll kind of give a general overview of the university, and then we'll get into some of the specifics, and you can talk about some of your individual experiences there. So the University of Kansas is a major research and teaching university located in Lawrence, Kansas, which is right in the center of the United States. We offer bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in nearly 200 fields, plus programs for intensive English study. KU is well known for high-quality academics, a unique student experience, as well as exceptional faculty and great opportunities for you to really get the most out of your studies beyond the classroom. So as you can see by this current slide, and as you might guess by our name, the University of Kansas is located in the state of Kansas, which is right in the middle of the United States. If you threw a bullseye, we would be right there, right in the middle.
Right.
So Lawrence is really kind of a town that's known for the university experience. It's one of the top 10 college towns in the U.S. So there's a lot of things to do here, even though it is a fairly small community of about 90,000. So if you could maybe talk a little bit about your first impressions of Lawrence and some of the things that you've experienced here in the town.
Coming from Bolivia, I didn't know much about Kansas, and I was really pleasantly surprised when I got here. As I said, I didn't know much about the community, but as soon as you get here, you feel from everybody that's living here that there's this strong sense of identity with the community, and that really gets to you. So after I knew a couple people, you realize there's so much to do here, even though, as you said, it's relatively small. Just on KU, there's so many different things. You can go have a coffee at the Pulse, or go to the basketball games at Alan Field's house. If you feel like having a meal, you can go to downtown, to Massachusetts Street, just to do something with your friends. So there's really a lot to do and a lot to explore at KU, and also the campus is extremely beautiful. I still remember the first time I stepped on the Jayhawk Boulevard, which is the main avenue where most of the buildings are located, and it's really, really beautiful, especially as you go into the fall, where the colors and blends with architecture. It's a really nice place to be.
Yeah, great. Now with Lawrence, one of the things people associate with Kansas, for people who've heard of Kansas, is that it's a very flat place with nothing there.
That is
how is Lawrence a little bit different than what some people think?
Yeah, I didn't know about Kansas, and my friends, when I told them I was coming to KU, they told me that everything was flat, and that is not the case. You're gonna be walking through a lot of stairs. I mean, Kansas may be flat, but the campus is situated on the hill, so there's a lot of stairs. And people usually joke about that. As you get older, your calves get bigger, so you can tell where they are in their college career based on their calves. But yeah, it's definitely not flat. There's a lot of trees. People also say that the state tree of Kansas is the telephone pole, but that's not the case too. There's a lot of, it's a very bucolic scenario, and there's a lot of trees. There's a lot to see.
Great. Now, as far as another question we get asked a lot is, how do you get around in Lawrence? Is it difficult if you don't have a car, or like how do you get around campus or even get to do things when you're not in classes?
Right. Personally, I don't have a car. I'm not planning to get a car anytime soon because the university has a transportation system that is from the university, and buses go everywhere basically every 5 minutes. And you don't have to pay anything as a student. You just need your student ID, and with that you can move around Lawrence wherever you want. Get from one point from your residence hall or your apartment to one class and back, or whenever you want to go. So it's very convenient and it works. Also, one of the cool features is that after, I believe from Thursday to Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, after a certain hour, you can call the university. It's called a Safe Ride, and they can pick you up anywhere from Lawrence. So you really have a lot of options to move around. You don't necessarily need to buy a car.
Yeah, great. Okay. Well, now let's talk a little bit about KU enrollment. So we are actually this week welcoming our new international students to campus. So we're excited to see what our new enrollment numbers are going to be for this new and exciting year. But the numbers that you see on the slide here are the KU enrollment numbers for the most recent academic year. So fall 2013 is when these numbers were taken. So overall, KU has about 28,000 students with about 2,200 international students from over 100 countries. And also all 50 U.S. states are represented. Being a state-supported institution, most of our students do come from Kansas, but we do have a lot of diversity as well. So I guess from your perspective and with the enrollment here, have you found it to be, how would you talk about maybe like the size of the university? So it is fairly large, but has that been a challenge as far as meeting people or making a nice community?
No. Well, in my experience, it was very easy to make friends, especially since when you arrive at the university, you are solely meeting international people. So since the university is so big, people from all over the world apply. And I thought that I was going to be the only Bolivian at KU, but when I got here, there were so many other Bolivians, and there's people from all over the world. So you start making those connections early on in your life at KU. With people not only from your certain culture but different culture, and then as you go on and the domestic kids come to study, you can also build relationships with them. So that wasn't a challenge for me. It worked the opposite. I was able to make a lot of friends here at KU from many different backgrounds, many different cultures, and that's really interesting how those experiences kind of change your career and your life as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's awesome. So I think the slide that Ginger has up here is just kind of the breakdown of students by country. So you'll see we do have a lot of different countries represented, over 100 this most recent academic year, and we expect the same for this year. So there's a lot of great opportunities to meet people from all over the world and to really learn from them and to interact with American students. You kind of become, or at least the ideal is that you become kind of an ambassador for your home country too, right? So have you found any opportunities where you've been able to share your culture with other students?
Yeah, for sure. There's an organization here on campus called the International Student Association, and every international student that gets to KU is automatically considered a member. If you want to get involved with the organizing of the event, that's up to you, but you are a member nevertheless. And that organization works with different departments on campus to put up events together to raise international awareness here in Lawrence. And one of the most prominent events is called the World Expo. So each country is given a booth, and they can expose whatever aspect they want from their culture, whether it's a video, food, or something that represents their culture. And I was able to do so in that event. And for that, over 500 people come, and many different prominent figures from the university also attend in attempts to raise awareness. But there's also many other opportunities. For example, there are talks with people from different backgrounds about different aspects of their cultures or religions, or there's really a lot to expose your culture and to keep that identity while being away from home.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. So I guess we'll talk now a little bit about just academics. So we'll transition to that. So KU, as I mentioned, does have quite a range of different academics opportunities available. At the undergraduate level, the most popular majors include business, psychology, engineering, journalism, and the biological sciences. But we have programs ranging from arts and music to architecture to the health professions, right? So there's many different academic opportunities available, and KU is well known for kind of the quality of those academic programs. So you mentioned your major. Could you talk a little bit about, describe what it is that you are studying for that? Because like you said, it's a very long title and you have different emphasis areas. So tell us a little bit more about your studies. What interests you in it?
I'm a business major, and the cool thing about business is that it can merge with the different majors. Whatever you enterprise, there's always going to be that business aspect of it. And what I'm studying is basically how to manage a business, how to be self-sufficient in that way, and how to be able to connect your organization with the customer and vice versa. And I also since KU is so big, I took a psychology class during first semester just for fun, and the professor, he was one of the top researchers in his area, and I fell in love with the class, so I decided to add that minor because the university gives me that possibility. And with that, I can also do another spectrum of things, like working on a bank or working on some other institution.
Great. And when you first came to KU and started taking university classes, like psychology, for example, sometimes those tend to be larger class sizes as far as the lecture part goes. Was that an adjustment to adapt to both the size of classes and maybe the style of instruction? Was that any different than what you were used to?
For me, it was because I graduated from a small high school. We were 50 in my graduating class, and my psychology class had 500 students. But it was easy to adjust to the change because KU uses a wide variety of technological assets to make it easier to deal with those big classes. So you have the professor may not be available for you one-on-one at all times, but you have his assistants that are always willing to help you, and you have all sorts of resources online that you can refer to. So it wasn't a big deal, but at the beginning it was, but it's something you can work on over time.
Nice, yeah. And so also you talked about the psychology, and I think that's a great example. Have there been, or have you enjoyed that flexibility of taking some different types of courses early in your studies, and maybe were there any other classes that you took that maybe you wouldn't have thought that you would have taken before you came?
Yeah, because of the way KU sets up the curriculum, in a way, it encouraged you to diversify what you had in mind. And I took some political science classes that I wanted to take, and that was one of my majors at the beginning, but I realized that wasn't for me. And that's why I ended up taking that psychology class. And I also took a class, this one's very unique, for my honors seminar. It was a seminar, not even a class, for my honors program. And it was about social work, and I really fell in love with the class. And now I'm going to be working with the professor at that time. And I wouldn't do it if it wasn't a requirement at the time. So it's something that really opened a new area of interest for me. And I think that's really cool.
Very nice, very nice. Well, the honors program is a good transition because another aspect of KU is that we do have really strong academics, and we are consistently on different kind of rankings lists and recognized in different ways for many of our different programs on campus. So KU is most recently, the most recent U.S. News and World Report, a top 50 public research university in the U.S. Our honors program is one of the top in the nation, and really, a lot of individual programs have their own rankings and recognition and things. So all those things are available on our website. But if you want to talk a little bit more specifically about the honors program, because it is a really great hallmark of the KU experience for students who are able to participate in that.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage anybody that's applying to look into the honors program. It's an amazing opportunity. It can open you a lot of doors here, and it is one of the top 3 honors program in the nation. I was talking about how the main classes are big and you have over 500 people. In the honors program, you get a lot of one-on-one interaction. The classes are much smaller. You get from 10 to 15 people. You get to talk to your professor. It's more personal. You can work on your weaknesses or what you on what you can improve on your studies. The professors are extremely qualified. Most of my honors professors are PhD with research experience, and they open you a lot of doors. I've been able to apply to some internships via my professor, which she recommended me, and it's been opening a lot of doors. And you also have the opportunity to get involved with the honors program, and you can help them in their efforts to bring people. And it's just a great way of developing a strong curriculum and forming those early relationships with professors that are really vital as you move on to college.
Great. So in addition to rankings recognition, KU, you kind of touched on this too, but we really do want students to get the most out of their experience here. So there's a lot of different support services for students, throughout their studies, whether it's great libraries or tutoring if needed, to kind of more academic enrichment like the honors program, like undergraduate research and internships, and like certificate programs where you can earn, a special certificate notation on your transcript for areas such as undergraduate research or global awareness. So lots of opportunities there. And so maybe if you could touch on some of the things that you know of as far as that, like the academic advising and career advising aspects of the experience.
Right. So when I got to KU, I didn't have a clue of what to study. I knew I wanted to run to the business area, but especially since I was an honor student, I had a one-on-one session with a peer advisor, which was basically a junior. She was a senior at the time that had been through that business path, and she helped me build my schedule. And if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be able to have that clear idea of what to do at that early beginning. And also, even if you don't know what to study, you can go to the advising center, and they have a lot of resources to guide you on your selection. And as you move through and you're going through different stages in your college career, let's say you want to apply to an internship, they help you build curriculum, they help you build resumes and cover letters, and they give you a lot of resources so that you can make the most out of your experience here. So that's really easy because those resources are available at all times, and they really do make your experience a lot much better and more fruitful in general.
Great. And then another aspect that I just briefly touched on is preparing for life after KU. So there are also many services on campus that kind of from the start have that focus on, we want you to get the most out of your 4 years. We also want you to be prepared for that next step after. So whether that's graduate school or entering the workforce, there are many services and programs to kind of help students build towards that. So for example, there are 5 different career centers on campus where you can get assistance with working on your resume, developing interview skills, bringing on different employers to campus through fairs and workshops, things like that. So there is also kind of that emphasis and that support. Now, as far as, say, internships go, have you had any internships, or have your friends have been successful in finding any internships, using resources like faculty or those career services?
Right. Yes. As a freshman, because I had that early connection with my professor, I was able to find an internship with a national organization after my freshman year, and that's very rare because freshmen usually don't get selected for those positions. And I know a friend of mine also, he's an engineer, and he's a freshman too, and he's part of the honors program, and he went to California for a month to go internship for an engineering company, which is even more rare because engineering students are expected to have some sort of basic knowledge before they have those sort of opportunities. Sure. So those opportunities really help. Also, the college, they have fairs where they bring employers from different areas. So let's say I'm a business student, so the business school organizes employers from different areas of business, and they bring them together so you can talk to them, hand them your resume. And I know a lot of people that were able to get very competitive internships through those fairs, and I know they have them for separate majors. So the engineering is going to have its own fair with only engineering companies coming, so that makes it much more easier. So those resources really help you find that place in the workplace, which nowadays it's getting extremely competitive.
Sure, sure. I think you bring up a good point with that too, with having the individual one's foresight, business and engineering, because I think that's one of the nice things about studying those fields at KU is that in business engineering in particular, it's kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of like studying like in a small school that's part of the larger university community.
Right.
Is how I would sometimes describe it to students because business, for example, has its own, academic advising, student organizations, leadership programs, career advising specific to business. So you kind of get that somewhat of the smaller school experience and the resources there, but you're still part of KU and the large experience.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of difference because you get a treatment tailored to what you're pursuing and tailored to what you want to do in your career. So they're trained to help you specifically on what you want to do as opposed to a much more broad advising sort of style.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about the student experience, because that's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
So the student experience, I would say, I think KU's, it's safe to say, fairly well known for the student experience here. There's a lot of unique traditions, a lot of great opportunities for students to be part of the community, the Jayhawk pride and all of that. So our mascot is the Jayhawk, if you do not already know. And it's a very unique mascot.
Yeah.
There's no other bird like it, and it's a mythical bird that's supposed to bring good luck to the university. So there's a lot of what we call Jayhawk pride, and when students come to KU, we say they become part of the Jayhawk family. So you've already talked about some of these experiences, but one perhaps you could talk about would be when you first came to KU, perhaps some of the traditions as far as like international student orientation and then like Hawk Week and some of that, just initial entry into the university.
Okay. Yeah, international student orientation is basically getting to know your new home in a nutshell. And that's when you learn the different aspects of the university in a very fun way. I remember we had scavenger hunts going all over KU, finding the different details about the buildings and the campus in general. And then Hawk Week, that's when you start getting to the traditions. And they really emphasize the traditions from an early start. You learn the Rock Chalk Jayhawk chant and the clapping we do at games. So that's really cool because that helps you feel more at home, especially for international students. Being away at home can be challenging. So when you have that sort of interaction, the experience is much more better in a way. And Hawk Week is a week of events that are made so you can feel that identity with the universities, like a week of very fun events. They have fairs, you can play games, and they give you a lot of free stuff. You get KU shirts. I remember my friends were shocked. They're giving free stuff. But yeah, it's that opportunity is really that's just special because before you get to the stress of classes, you have this week just to have fun and get to know the people here, the traditions, and the university as a whole. And if I don't late night, that's later, right? But yeah, I mean, after that initial week, you get to the more basketball and to the other traditions. But that week, it's just good to have a sense of KU as a whole.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned KU basketball, and that is worth mentioning. It's just one of the things that we happen to be pretty well known for is basketball. And so if you're not already a fan, you probably will be by the time you come to KU and become a student. It's just kind of part of the culture, and people just really rally behind the basketball team, which is really awesome. It has a really long history and tradition. So yeah, maybe talk a little bit about that. Some of those traditions with basketball and how that's just part of the experience.
I'm South American, and we breathe soccer, so
Right.
basketball wasn't my passion.
Sure.
But when I got here, that changed a little bit. Just to see everybody so excited about basketball, and we do have one of the best teams in the nation. We consistently over history, we've always had a very strong team. And last year specifically, there was a lot of euphoria because we had the best recruit that year, Andrew Wiggins, and everybody talked about him. And he's playing with LeBron James this season. He went professional. But yeah, that was very exciting. And just going to the game, it's sort of a mythical environment when you feel everybody's jumping, everybody's excited, and that experience, even if you don't like basketball, I assure you 110% you're gonna be KU basketball, KU basketball, KU basketball.
Yeah.
It is really special, and I don't think you can get that sort of privilege any other place outside of the States. At least I don't think you can get that experience.
Yeah, and what's nice is that even if you're not a really, really great athlete who's going to be on the team, there are also recreational opportunities for students who enjoy playing sports like soccer or basketball, or just enjoy fitness and recreation. There's that side of it too. So you don't have to be on an athletics team in order to have that aspect of the experience.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The recreation center is basically a gym that is very well equipped. It's huge, and you have badminton courts, soccer courts, taekwondo arenas, ping pong tables. You basically can practice any sport you want. And I usually go there to play soccer with the other international friends and my American friends too. So whatever you want to do, you can do it here. It's not all about basketball or football, as a matter of fact.
Great.
Yeah.
And I know some parts of the student experience it's kind of hard to describe to someone who hasn't been through it themselves, but I think that like the university's YouTube channel has some videos like of the basketball games and of some of the different recreation activities. So I do encourage those watching to check out that YouTube channel and get a small glimpse into what the student experience is kind of like here at KU. So yeah. And then I thought another good thing to talk about, especially with you, is housing.
Housing,
right?
Yeah.
So where did you come from today?
I came from RA training.
Yes.
I was training to be part of the staff for housing next year.
Yeah. Could you explain what an RA is?
Well, a resident assistant is the one in charge that one floor of the building is functioning well, creating that community and making sure that there are not conflicts. So it's basically supervising that everything is running smoothly and that people are able to get the most out of their KU experience.
Yeah, awesome. And with living on campus and at KU, there are many different options available for students depending on kind of your interests and just depending on kind of what you're looking for out of student housing. So different styles available, different types. And with student housing, many of our students do live on campus, so there's about 4,000 of our students who do, but it's not required to do so. So students can make that decision. It is something we highly recommend because it is a great way to get connected to the university community, to really establish those friendships and ties to campus early on in your experience. And plus it's convenient, right, to be pretty close to campus and just walk or jump on the bus to go. One thing that I was wondering if you could maybe explain too is the difference between a residence hall and a scholarship hall, since KU offers both.
Right. I lived in the scholarship halls for a semester, and I used to believe you need a scholarship to be part. In some way that's true, but not necessarily. But the scholarship hall are basically, it's different in the way that you are assigned a task. So for example, you either need to clean one of the floors or you need to help cook. And you have your own meals in your own hall, as opposed to in the residence halls, you don't have that sort of obligation, and you have a meal plan with another provider here at KU. And the experiences you get, they're different in a way because each part has its own traditions, but both are really good experiences and a great way to meet people right off the bat here at KU.
Yeah. Sometimes when I tell people that, as part of being a scholarship hall, they have to do some of the cooking and cleaning, they think it sounds terrible. But do you think it's safe to say that it's actually kind of, it builds a unique community with those types of things?
Yeah, for sure, because you're not doing it alone. Other 49 people are going through that same thing with you. And that really helps to build a lot of community. And it's not as hard as it sounds, because it's not every day. It's just one day out a week, and everybody has to do its share so that everything is functioning well. And the cool thing about it is that it has that economic aspect because it's cheaper than the residence halls. So for people who are looking to save some money, that is usually a very good option. So KU is trying to make housing more affordable for students.
Yeah, awesome. Another common question that we get about campus housing has to do with safety.
Safety.
So what are some of the things that you would say are good about living on campus, and maybe some of those safety features that are part of on campus housing?
Specifically on housing.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, to get anywhere in your hall, you need your KUID. And without your KUID, you don't get anywhere. So it's very safe. You have people monitoring, where is that senior staff that's in charge of the building. That applies for both the residence hall and the scholarship hall. So it's really a safe environment. To this day, I haven't heard about a major or a minor problem with the security in housing. So it's a really comfortable and nurturing environment to be in.
Great. Yeah, and another, of course, with everything else we're saying, there's great information about housing and everything else on the website too. So if you're kind of curious to see what types of housing options are available on campus, you can just go on the housing website, which I think is housing.ku.edu, or you just type in housing when you're searching from our main website, ku.edu. So you can go on there and learn about the housing options. Again, there's some different videos and media, so you can kind of try to get a feel for what it's like to be a student living in campus housing. I'll take just a moment to talk about our Applied English Center as I kind of transition to more of the admissions type things. But the Applied English Center is something that's really great at our campus, where it offers 5 levels of instruction in English proficiency. And the English proficiency at KU is a little bit different than some other places as far as how we handle it. So I'll just describe that briefly. At the undergraduate level, all international undergraduate students whose native language is not English are required to submit either the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. However, there's not a minimum score required. How it works is that all students, when they arrive on campus, check in with the Applied English Center. And if you do not have super high TOEFL or IELTS scores, then you would probably take a placement or proficiency exam with the Applied English Center to determine if any other English classes are required before you begin your full-time academic studies. Now, how it works is that you can either take the full-time academic classes, full-time Applied English Center, or it could be part-time in both. So it is possible to where, let's say you're strong in every single area except for writing, that you can start some of your academic courses, but you might just take that one writing class at the Applied English Center. So it really comes down to you as an individual to make sure that you're ready in all those different aspects to be successful in university coursework at KU. For those of you who are graduate students, so interested in master's and doctoral degree programs, there are minimum TOEFL or IELTS scores required for you. So just to be aware of those differences, and you can ask us via email or chat about what some of those, just more details about that requirement, and we can certainly send you that information. But with the Applied English Center, did you or did any of your friends go to the Applied English Center as before or when they first started at KU?
All right. Well, as you said, you need your TOEFL scores, and fortunately I was able to place out of the English Center, so I could go straight to my normal English classes, but I do have some friends that went through the Applied English Center. The normal English classes at KU are demanding because you're held to the level of a native speaker. But my friends that went through that experience, their English was able to improve over time until they were prepared to go to the normal classes. So that's a nice opportunity to have, because if I know that some of my friends, after they went through the English Applied Center, they were able to do well in their normal English classes.
Great, yeah. And the Applied English Center has really great faculty staff involved, and so they really know what they're doing with that preparation, and so they prepare students linguistically, but also academically and even kind of culturally for that transition to university life. So if you even want to come and just study English, that is also an option. So you can check out that Applied English Center website if you're wanting to know more about some of those options available. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the admission requirements is the new KU Academic Accelerator Program. Now, this program is a completely new program that we're starting this current fall semester here at KU. So it's an exciting new opportunity for students who meet our admission requirements for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, but also have advanced levels of English and are wanting a supportive, immersive first-year experience. at a U.S. university, that is KU. So during that 12-month period, students in this program take a combination of both English courses and academic courses, and have access to kind of some special cultural activities and student services. So if you're wanting to know more about this program, this is another thing that you can email us about or visit the website for this program, because it is kind of a unique developing program that you can learn more about. Okay, so now all those things combined, there are some different pathways into the university. So the most traditional pathway is regular degree-seeking admission at the undergraduate level or the graduate level. We do have some students who come as non-degree students, but it's not as common, and you have to kind of come through a particular program or university partnership. And then, as I mentioned, the Applied English Center and the Academic Accelerator Program are also pathways into the university. So now the kind of general admission requirements, and I'm not going to go too far in depth into these because they are available on our website, and that's something we can kind of counsel you on individually. But I will just have Ginger show you the slides for the admission requirements, and I'll just kind of talk about the process in general. So to apply to KU, you do at the undergraduate level, you apply to my office, which is International Recruitment and Undergraduate Admissions. You submit an online application and must meet the admissions requirements that are detailed on our website. And the admission requirements do vary depending on whether you're a first-year or transfer student and your chosen major. So there are some slightly different requirements for some of our selective admissions programs, such as business, engineering, architecture, journalism, etc. So from your perspective with the admissions process, do you have any advice to students either thinking about KU or even elsewhere as far as how to manage that process?
My advice would be to use the resources that are available online. I know that I had a lot of questions, and everything you need to know, it's going to be at the KU website. That was the one that really helped me getting to KU and getting more to know about KU when I didn't, because I know about KU since some of my friends came here and they told me to look it up, and the KU is really the KU website is really a great resource to get to know all those minor details you need to know when you're applying. Besides from that, it's really not very hard. You go through all the application is done electronically on the website, and it's a matter of sending your scores to the university and completing the application online. So that shouldn't be a trouble. At least in my experience, it wasn't.
Great. And that's, why we're here. So we're happy, people in my office, we're here to help you with that process and to answer any of those specific questions you have. So never hesitate to send us an email or to reach out to us via social media or any of the outlets we have available. And we're happy to help and answer those questions. Now, I did have a couple questions that came through, kind of related, some of them related to the admissions process that I will briefly touch on. So the minimum percentage required in coursework to be admitted. How this works as far as the grade, I assume what you're referring to is probably grade point average or what marks you need to receive in order to be admitted to KU. And how that process works is that you submit your academic records, your official academic records from your secondary school, your high school, to KU. And we have people in our office who are specialized in academic systems all over the world, and so they're kind of divided up by region. And once we receive your official academic records, they can evaluate those to determine how those scores and the marks you've received, how those would equate to our 4.0 scale. And they also are aware of the different credentials that you have to complete in a given country. So if you are required to take like a final exam at the end of your studies in order to graduate from your high school, then they would need to see those exam results, for example. But anyway, so once they kind of evaluate the records that you send in and do that conversion, what we need to see, generally speaking, is a 2.5 grade point average on a 4.0 in order to be admitted into the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Now, some of our selective admissions programs do require slightly higher than that. So business engineering, for example, require a 3.0, and some programs require even higher. But that's kind of a starting point. And so what you can do if you're not sure, or if you're just wanting to know about your specific program, is to go on the website that we have and look under the admissions requirements. And it details it for both freshman students as well as transfer students. Another question about TOEFL. So as you can see on the sites, and as I mentioned, that we do not have a minimum TOEFL score required for undergraduate admissions. Any score will suffice for admission to your academic program. You just check in with the Applied English Center after you arrive to determine if you'll need any more or if you need any English courses before beginning your academic courses. And this one asks about the deadline to apply for fall 2015, and it does vary a bit by program. Most programs, the deadline is April 1st for the fall semester. Some programs do have earlier deadlines, so you'll want to double check on that. And again, that is available on our website. And also something important to know is that our scholarship deadline is January 15th. So if you wish to be considered for a scholarship, and I will get into the details of that in just a moment, but if you wish to be considered for a scholarship, you'll want to submit all of your application materials by January 15th for the fall semester. Okay, so now we'll just briefly touch on the graduate admission requirements. And really the most important thing to know about graduate admissions at KU is that it works works very differently than it does at the undergraduate level, in that it's not centralized in my office. So at the graduate level, the individual graduate programs make their own admission criteria and decisions. So the best thing to do is to contact the graduate program that interests you to learn about the specific admissions requirements for that particular program. They can also let you know about any funding opportunities that might be available through that department and how they make those types of decisions as well. So again, for graduate programs, you'll want to reach out to that individual program directly. Now, if you're looking for just how to get started with that process, our Office of Graduate Studies is a great resource of information about just kind of the general steps and the general types of things that are required, and they can help to put you in contact with that individual program or department. So if you just search for graduate studies on our website or just go to graduate.ku.edu, that's a great place to start. Okay, so graduate admissions, undergraduate admissions, that's the fast overview of it. Looks like we have one more question. Okay, I'll answer this real quick and then we'll transition on to some of the cost estimates. So I have a comment that the website isn't working for you individually, so you're unable to see the fees. Now, sometimes we get this because of the way the website is kind of structured and they're working to fix it. But if you're having trouble seeing the website, all you probably need to do is clear cache. And if you're not sure how to do that, then just send us an email and we can send you instructions for how you can do that on your computer. We're happy to do so, and almost every single time that clears any issues you're having with website functionality. So I'm sorry you're having issues now, but we're happy to send you those details. Okay, so very briefly, we'll put up a couple of slides about the costs. And so something I want to mention about costs for the information provided on this slide is that these are for the most recent academic year that we had, and the costs for the new academic year are currently being updated, and so we'll have new cost sheets on our website available very soon. But you'll see there's there's a bit of a range in costs as far as what we've provided, because the costs do vary depending on what you study. So business, for example, has slightly higher course fees than our general studies and liberal arts and sciences. So again, that information is on different cost sheets, so we can help you to plan accordingly. But one benefit to coming to KU as a freshman is that there is a tuition compact. And what that means is that your tuition rate is set for 4 years. So at least you can plan accordingly and know that there won't be increases year to year. We also have it broken down on this slide and even more so on our website between the tuition costs and overall costs. So it's important to realize that tuition is one part and then your kind of estimated living expenses are another. So we try to do the best we can in giving you an idea of how much it's realistically going to cost you to come study at KU, to include things like housing estimates, personal expenses, books, health insurance, etc. So from your experiences, have you found that those general guides to be helpful as far as projecting costs?
Yeah, for sure. And those are going to be all your expenses here. For most, your personal expenses. Tuition is the big one to look after. Then you have your room and board. If you're living on the residence halls, you have your meal plan and small university fees that don't account for a large portion of your overall spending.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to estimate how much you're going to be looking to spend over the course of the years.
Great. And with costs too, was there anything that you were surprised about with costs, or any unexpected costs that you advise students just kind of be aware of?
I was surprised. I'm not necessarily surprised, but the insurance, you're required to have an insurance if you don't have one. And insurance in the States is usually very high, but at least for a student here at KU, especially for me, it wasn't that high. So I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't as much as I was looking to spend. And also, if you're living in the scholarship halls, you're gonna have your room and your meal plan at a very cheap price. I didn't have to spend much on that either compared to other options that are out there.
Well, good. It's always a pleasant surprise. Sometimes the not so pleasant surprise, sometimes people are surprised by the books, that how expensive books can be.
The books, yeah, I forgot about that. Books can be expensive, but there are ways you can buy your book that can make it cheaper. For example, I have a book in business, just one class, it was $200 for the book, but you can rent the book online if you don't want to buy it, and that's much cheaper. You can buy it from somebody who has already bought it, and if you plan it a certain way, at the end it's going to be much cheaper. But yeah, the books, if you're going to buy them brand new, some of the books can be very pricey.
Yeah. So we're not lying when we put such a big number on the estimates. It does fluctuate, but they just are expensive. Yeah. Okay, so then I know we'll also just kind of flash up the graduate cost estimates just to give you a rough idea, but again, this information is available on the website, and there's quite a range on the graduate side as far as the fee structure goes, because again, that's something else that with graduate programs working semi-independently, for lack of a better word, that there's just kind of a range in what that fee structure is going to be. So again, you can always contact that individual program or department if you're having a difficult time finding that information or if you're wanting to know about graduate funding opportunities. Speaking of funding opportunities, we'll transition into undergraduate funding opportunities, specifically focusing on scholarships. So there are some scholarships offered through my office as part of the admissions process. So students who are coming to KU as first-year students or as transfer students coming from outside the U.S., who submit the materials that you see listed, I believe on that slide, I put them on there. So people who submit all these extra materials by the January 15th deadline will be considered for our scholarship. Now, there are very limited number of scholarships available each year, so they go to the very top students in our applicant pool each fall semester. So the types of things we look for, those things listed. So it's kind of like we look at the students who are at the very top academically of the pool by that deadline and say, okay, so these are the students who are very strong, who have really strong test scores, who have really strong academic marks, who have really strong TOEFL scores. And then among that pool of really great students, we look at those supplemental materials. So the essays, letters of recommendation, the resume or CV showing your co-curricular involvement. And so we use all those supplemental materials to help us decide who among those very top students academically are awarded the scholarship. So essentially we're looking for students who are going to be great students here at KU and who we also think will become leaders on campus and will give back to the university community. So it is a highly competitive process, and as mentioned, they are very limited number available, but we are able to award some scholarships to our students. So the largest scholarship is that KU IIE undergraduate tuition scholarship. And if you're wanting to learn more about that, I do highly recommend you check out the website and make sure that you understand those extra materials that are required so that you don't miss out on being considered for the scholarship. Some other funding opportunities available are that some departments do have scholarships available, sometimes to first-year students and sometimes to students after that first year. And then sometimes there are some outside scholarships. Then we keep a whole database of that on our website. So if you're wanting to see some of the scholarship opportunities available, you're more than welcome to go on there and kind of learn about some of the outside organizations that do offer scholarships. Please note that these are not associated with KU, so we just kind of have them up there for reference to just kind of help you with your search process. And you may or may not be eligible for any given scholarship, but at least gives you a place to look and kind of get started to help reduce some of your overall costs. The other thing I want to mention about undergraduate scholarships, or not scholarships, but funding opportunities is on-campus employment. And so on-campus employment is another thing where it's not going to cover all of your expenses, but it can help to reduce some of your overall costs. So as an international student, you're eligible to work on campus up to 20 hours per week when classes are in session. And that's kind of part of student visa requirements or regulations. And so with those types of campus employment opportunities, there are quite a range of different jobs available on campus, right? So it can be food service, it can be working in the residence halls, it can be working for a campus office. And campus employment certainly isn't guaranteed, but there are a lot of different opportunities available. So if you want to maybe briefly talk about, like, for an RA is one example of that, right? So kind of how that process worked for you and how you kind of found that opportunity.
Yeah, personally, I have a lot of friends that work because they need some extra money to help pay their expenses. And as you said, there's really a lot of opportunities available. You can work on coffee shops here on campus, or serving food, or helping in catering, for example. But also there's some paid opportunities when it comes to academics. I have a lot of friends that do research and are paid. Not only grad students, but undergrad, sophomore, juniors that get paid. Teacher assistants, you can help assist a professor in one of your classes, and I know that position is paid. So there's really a lot of opportunities. And for me personally, in housing, I got the RA job, and that's going to be a great help for me this semester, not having to worry about paying my food or room and board.
Yeah, awesome. So many opportunities out there that you can certainly explore as you're looking at some of the options here at KU. And the challenge that I understand is that, other than those initial scholarships that you might be awarded after you're admitted to KU, some of that's unknown, right? And so that's going to be true of most universities, where it's unknown or it's not guaranteed that you will find for sure, a campus job or whatever the case might be, or a paid research opportunity. But it is good to know that there are many opportunities out there, and they do exist. So students who work really hard and are really driven and passionate about their studies and doing well can typically find some form of assistance to help reduce some of those overall costs. So very briefly on the graduate funding opportunities, because I know we're running short on time, is kind of what I've already mentioned. So there are some graduate funding opportunities, and I listed some of those on this slide. But the best thing to do is really reach out to your individual academic department and program to learn about the details of what funding opportunities that graduate program offers. So for teaching assistantships, graduate teaching assistantships specifically, that's one that is a common one that's offered at the graduate level, but it just varies by program how many of those are available each year. So something to check with your program advisor about. Okay, and then finally, we just have this slide about the application deadlines. So application deadlines are going to vary, as I touched on earlier about when I talked about the fall application deadline. So they vary at the undergraduate level as well as the graduate level. So you'll just want to check the website or contact us if you have questions about specific programs that you're interested in. But I will do another reminder about the fall deadlines, because that tends to be our most popular application time. So April 1st is the deadline for kind of general admission or to many of our programs, but January 15th is that deadline if you wish to be considered for a undergraduate scholarship offered by my office. So, and then I'll have Ginger put up the contact information slide. Ginger's behind the scenes here. I can see her, but you cannot. And so that you can, there we go, yep. Contact information slide. So this has some information about the main websites you can go to, and also our email address that you can contact us with if you have any specific questions. But to wrap it up, I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for joining us today and sharing your experiences. But also, if you wanted to maybe just give your parting words of wisdom or advice for students who are kind of considering this process.
Sure. To anybody looking at this video, I would encourage you to apply at KU. For me, it has become much more like a second home and much less like a university. It's not only about the academics, but it's also about, and KU is great, whatever major you are looking for, but it's also about the experience and you're gonna get here and the relationships you're gonna get here. Like the slogan says, it is really a great place to be. And I'm hoping to see some of the people who are looking this over the course of these years.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, and I know you have to run back to RA training to get ready for the new year. But thank you all for joining us. And once again, I do want to remind you that we will be available in our virtual booth in about a half an hour. So we'll be resuming that, where you can join us there and ask us any specific questions you might have And as always, you can email us directly, and the one that comes to my office is the one that's issrecruit@ku.edu. So Ginger or I are happy to help you throughout the process. So thank you all for joining us, and have a good day or night, depending on where you are. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.